Have you ever wondered why some women seem to move through the world with an invisible gravity, drawing men toward them without effort or intention? Most people believe it's beauty or charm that captures attention, but the truth is far more mysterious. What you think pushes him away, your independence, your quiet self-possession, may actually be the very force that pulls him closer. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious responds to archetypes older than language itself, and today, those patterns speak through every subtle movement of a woman who embodies hidden feminine energies. He notices it first in the atmosphere around her, a current that seems to hum beneath the noise of everyday life. She carries the stillness of someone who has walked through her own shadows and returned whole. This is not the surface calm of polite restraint but the deep equilibrium of a soul unafraid of its own darkness. Without a word, she signals that she can witness the hidden corners of another without judgment. A man senses it immediately, though he cannot name it, the quiet power of shadow integration. Her presence is neither hurried nor hesitant. She moves as though time bends to her rhythm, each step an affirmation that she belongs to herself. This slow, deliberate pace disorients men accustomed to chasing distraction. He finds himself leaning toward her, compelled by the mystery of a woman who will not be rushed. Jung called this individuation, the union of opposites within the self, and in her he feels that union before he can understand it. There is an energy in her gaze that both welcomes and challenges. It is not flirtation, but recognition, as if she sees beneath the layers he shows the world. When their eyes meet, he feels the subtle stirring of the anima, the inner feminine that Jung believed every man carries and longs to integrate. Her glance tells him she knows that side of him exists, and that she honors it. He does not know why this excites and unsettles him, only that he wants to remain in her presence. Her laughter arrives like a soft storm, warm, unguarded, carrying the scent of freedom. It is the sound of someone who finds delight not because life is easy, but because she refuses to be ruled by fear. Men feel this vitality as a magnetic field. It awakens the dormant parts of them that crave wonder, reminding them of a joy they once knew and lost. He follows not because she demands it, but because she reminds him of his own forgotten aliveness. She listens with an intensity that makes the world slow. When he speaks, she does not simply wait for her turn, she attends to the spaces between words, to the tremor behind a breath. In her silence he feels seen without disguise, an experience rarer and more compelling than any dramatic display. This deep listening is an energy of its own, a quiet invitation into authenticity. Her independence is unmistakable. She builds her days around passions that nourish her spirit, never bending her schedule for validation. This freedom does not repel, it draws. A man senses that her affection, if offered, will be a gift freely chosen, not a strategy to fill an emptiness. The realization unsettles him, because it demands that he meet her as an equal soul, not as a conquest. Even the simplest gestures carry a sensual current that transcends the physical. The way she brushes hair from her cheek, the unhurried stretch of her arm, the subtle sway when she walks, all speak of a woman fully at home in her body. This is not performance. It is eros in its purest form, the life force itself. He senses her presence long before he hears her voice, as if the very air rearranges itself around her. This is not the kind of magnetism that clamors for attention, it is a gravity born of inner coherence. Jung spoke of the self as the ultimate archetype of wholeness, and in her he recognizes a living symbol of that unity. She is not trying to impress, she simply is, and that quiet certainty becomes impossible to resist. Her mystery is not a mask but an invitation. She reveals herself in layers, like a coastline emerging from morning fog. Each word, each subtle pause, hints at worlds he cannot see yet longs to explore. Instead of offering explanations, she allows silence to do the work of revelation. This patience unsettles him, because it requires that he abandon the comfort of instant answers and instead lean into the unknown. He finds himself waiting, listening, watching, drawn by a force that feels as old as myth. There is a spark of playful unpredictability in her, a sudden flash of humor or mischief that breaks through the serenity without shattering it. One moment she is still as a moonlit lake, the next she is laughter and light, the embodiment of the trickster archetype that Jung believed kept the psyche alive and supple. Her ability to dance between composure and spontaneity awakens in him a childlike joy, a reminder that love must also contain the freedom of play. Her empathy is another hidden current. She senses unspoken tensions, reading the micro-expressions he hardly knows he wears. Yet she never uses this insight to manipulate. Instead she offers presence, a listening so deep it feels like being known by the universe itself. In her company he dares to lay down the armor of performance. He finds himself confessing small truths he has carried alone, surprised by how natural it feels to be vulnerable. She holds boundaries with quiet precision. A gentle shift of posture, a slight softening of her gaze, these subtle signals mark where her sovereignty begins. Far from pushing him away, these boundaries fascinate him. They assure him that any closeness will be chosen, never coerced. He realizes that her yes will always be authentic because her no is unmistakable. This paradox of openness and limit draws him deeper, calling forth his own integrity. Every movement of her body carries a rhythm that speaks of ancient rites. The tilt of her head, the pause before a smile, the deliberate grace of her hands, each gesture is a hymn to embodiment. It is not overt seduction, it is the life force itself moving through flesh. He experiences it less as temptation and more as reverence, as though her mere existence reawakens his own senses to the sacredness of being alive. Her inner stillness becomes a mirror in which he confronts himself. Without drama or demand, she reflects the parts of him long hidden, the tenderness behind his ambition, the longing beneath his composure. He begins to sense the anima, that inner feminine Jung believed every man must integrate. It rises within him like a tide, called forth by her silent invitation. He does not name it, but he feels it, and it changes the way he breathes. Around them, the world sharpens into detail. Candlelight flickers like a living pulse, the sound of distant footsteps becomes a slow drumbeat. Time seems to stretch, her energy unfolds like a constellation, each star a different facet of the feminine psyche, each glimmer guiding him deeper into a terrain both mysterious and strangely familiar. He follows without conscious intent, drawn by the slow gravity of her being. Jung described such encounters as meetings with the archetypal anima, when a man glimpses the eternal feminine that lives within his own soul. In her, he senses that presence vividly, an echo of his own hidden depths. There is the serene glow of the nurturer, not in clinging sweetness but in the way she creates a field of safety around her. When she speaks, her voice carries the warmth of a hearth, the steadiness of ancient earth. He feels it in the way she notices the smallest shifts in his mood, the patience with which she allows silence to stretch until it becomes a sanctuary. This is care without possession, affection that neither demands nor confines. Then the muse appears, subtle yet undeniable. She does not attempt to inspire, she simply lives so vividly that creativity stirs in anyone who nears her orbit. He finds ideas rising unbidden, fragments of poetry, visions of color and sound, as if her presence opens hidden chambers of imagination. Her curiosity about the world is contagious, it invites him to remember the passions he has neglected, the dreams he once silenced. A darker, more potent energy flickers beneath, the shadow dancer. She is unafraid of her own complexity, and this gives her an electric edge. He senses that she has faced her fears and made peace with them, carrying a quiet intimacy with the night. This acceptance of darkness calls to something unacknowledged in him. Without realizing it, he feels braver, more willing to face his own unspoken fears. The bond between them deepens not through sweetness but through shared courage. The mystic threads through all these energies. There is a light in her gaze that suggests she walks with one foot in another world. She speaks of ordinary things, a stray cat, the taste of rain, but each word hints at hidden depths. He feels as if she could read the secret language of dreams. Jung believed that symbols bridge the conscious and unconscious, and in her presence he senses those bridges forming within himself. Her independence remains the steady axis around which these shifting archetypes revolve. She gives freely yet belongs wholly to herself. There is no plea for completion, no subtle tug for assurance. He knows instinctively that her affection, if offered, will always be a gift, never a bargain. This knowledge awakens respect and an unexpected humility, as though he must rise to meet the standard her self-possession sets. Even her smallest movements carry the weight of ritual. The lift of a cup, the slow turn of her head, the way she inhales before speaking, each gesture seems choreographed by something timeless. He feels a heightened awareness of his own body in response, the rhythm of breath, the beat of blood, the texture of air. She has drawn him into the present moment so completely that the boundary between outer world and inner world begins to dissolve. Around them, reality seems to shimmer. Streetlights outside flare like distant stars, the murmur of traffic becomes a low, rhythmic chant. Time no longer moves in straight lines but swirls around them like a slow spiral. He recognizes that this is not enchantment in a shallow sense but the natural effect of authentic presence. Her presence deepens like dusk turning to night, a layered hush where every breath feels weighted with meaning. He senses that he is no longer simply near her but inside a vast field of resonance, where her hidden energies unfold like a many-petaled flower. Jung described this as the anima's full unveiling, the moment when a man is invited to meet the feminine dimension of his own soul. In her company, he feels that invitation with every silent heartbeat. Another energy reveals itself, the sovereign. She carries the quiet dignity of a woman who bows to no external authority, who governs the realm of her life with wisdom rather than control. The way she chooses her words, the calm command of her gaze, the ease with which she honors her own boundaries, these speak of a strength that is neither loud nor defensive. He feels both challenged and steadied, compelled to stand taller, to match her integrity. Then comes the wild one, a current of unrestrained vitality that flickers beneath her poise. It surfaces in a sudden laugh that breaks the stillness like a spark, in the way her movements occasionally betray a playful unpredictability. This is not chaos, it is the life force itself, eros as pure creative energy. Around her, the world feels larger, more dangerous and more alive. He finds his own senses sharpened, his spirit stirred to motion. The healer is there too, though she never claims the title. She listens with an attention so deep it feels like being held without touch. Her empathy is not sentimental but rooted in understanding. She senses pain without needing to fix it, offering a space where wounds can breathe. In her company, he feels the quiet permission to let old defenses soften, to acknowledge the vulnerabilities he hides even from himself. All these facets, the sovereign, the wild one, the healer, blend seamlessly into the larger mystery of her being. She does not switch between them, she is them, integrated and whole. This integration is what draws him most powerfully. He realizes that he is not chasing a person so much as he is drawn to the possibility of his own completion. Through her, he glimpses the balance of light and shadow, freedom and intimacy, that his own soul craves. The space around them seems to echo this recognition. The dim glow of streetlights becomes a soft constellation, the rhythm of distant footsteps sounds like an ancient drum. Time stretches and folds, moments looping back on themselves. He is aware of every detail, the warmth of her nearness, the subtle scent of rain on her hair, the gentle cadence of her breath, as if the universe has slowed to honor the encounter. Her independence remains the unshakable center of it all. She offers connection but never relinquishes selfhood. There is no hidden bargain in her attention, no silent plea for permanence. He senses that if their paths diverged tomorrow, she would continue with the same serene momentum. Far from diminishing desire, this knowledge deepens it. The realization that she will never be possessed compels him to meet her as an equal, not a captor. What began as fascination has become a quiet transformation. His old notions of pursuit, conquest, strategy, winning, fall away. In their place rises a reverence for presence itself, for the rare experience of standing beside someone who embodies her full spectrum of archetypal power. He understands, without words, that the chase is no longer outward. Her energy now gathers like the final crescendo of a symphony, quiet at first, then sweeping through every corner of the room with undeniable force. The night outside is nearly gone, but the atmosphere between them feels outside of time, rich with an almost sacred gravity. Jung described such moments as the meeting of the self, where the conscious and the unconscious finally recognize each other. He senses that recognition now, as though her very presence calls him to a more complete version of himself. The final archetypal force emerges, the oracle. She speaks without haste, her words measured yet resonant, carrying the quiet authority of someone who has walked through both shadow and light. When she offers a thought, it is never to instruct or impress. Instead, it lands like a gentle bell tone, inviting reflection rather than demanding agreement. He hears more than her voice, he feels the vibration of meaning beneath it, the way it touches places inside him he has barely begun to explore. Alongside the oracle moves the alchemist, the unseen current that transforms everything it touches. It is in the way she can sit in silence and let the air itself change. The tension he carried when they first met has dissolved into a calm alertness. Her presence distills chaos into clarity, like moonlight turning a restless sea to silver. He realizes that she has not tried to change him, she has simply embodied a wholeness that allows change to unfold naturally. These final energies do not replace the earlier ones, the lover, the sovereign, the wild one, the healer, they complete them. Together they form a circle, a living mandala of the feminine psyche. She is not performing a role or switching between masks, she is the integration of them all, a living symbol of unity. Jung might have called her the embodiment of the Great Mother archetype, not a single figure, but the totality of what the feminine can be. The effect on him is profound. His old definitions of attraction, chasing, claiming, conquering, have dissolved. In their place stands a reverence for the mystery she carries and the mystery she awakens in him. He recognizes that what he longs for is not possession but participation in a greater wholeness. She has become a mirror of his own potential, a reminder of the anima that has always lived within him, waiting to be acknowledged. Around them, the first light of morning seeps through the curtains. It touches her hair like a halo, glints across her skin, outlines her silhouette in soft fire. Every small movement, the stretch of her fingers, the tilt of her head, feels like a ceremony. He notices the scent of dawn drifting through the window, the distant sound of birdsong beginning. Ordinary details are charged with meaning, as though the world itself has taken on the rhythm of their silent understanding. She remains unhurried, self-contained, luminous in her independence. There is no promise in her eyes, no question, no subtle plea. She offers only presence, pure, unclaimed, complete. He feels no urge to capture her, instead he feels the quiet certainty that he has been changed by simply standing in her orbit. The chase, he realizes, was never about winning her. It was about awakening to the parts of himself she reflects. And this is the paradox she embodies, the woman who ignites pursuit without ever chasing, who draws devotion not by seeking it but by living her own wholeness. In her presence he has glimpsed the truth.